I'm going to show you how to do a bench test of your O2 sensor and wideband controller so that you can verify that it's working properly or not in perfect conditions. So in this video, I'm going to cover an LC-2, Innovate LC-2, and an AEM UEGO. First, we'll start with the LC-2. It is wired up with the output going to the serial PC over here. There's 4 wires that go to it. There's a black, a red, which are the power, and then the brown and the yellow are the 0 to 5 volt outputs. I have them wired into a power output from my power supply. You can use a battery or a battery charger. And then those are also connected to the gauge. The output from my yellow line goes to white, white goes to the white on the gauge, and I have a multimeter to read the values so you can see the output 5 volt changing as you run it. Bench test, I have my O2 sensor hanging in free air, not touching anything. Now we're going to apply power. Green light comes on, green light flashes. That means it's warming up the sensor. You may be able to feel the sensor. Don't put your finger on the end of it where you could contaminate it, but it will start warming up. Oop, that's already hot to the touch because I've already done this test. The output stays low because of the way I have it configured at the moment at 0. And then when it finishes warming up, it will go to 5 volts, and the output just went to 5 volts. It shows high air-fuel ratio, that's max. On the gauge, it's showing 5 volts. And the green light is solid, which means it's working without error. And then you can check your software connection with Logworks to see what the output looks like. The next thing you want to do is take a solvent, which isopropyl alcohol will do the job. Soak a bit of paper towel in the solvent, and then we're going to cover the the end of the O2 sensor to starve it of oxygen so we can see the air-fuel ratio change. And you can look at the software, Logworks software, and also see it change there. You can see the voltage changing. You can see the gauge changing when I cover up the end of it. So we can tell that it's working. That's air-fuel ratio. Eventually we're going to switch over to O2 percentage. Now we're back up to ambient O2 percentage, which is in the just under 21 range percent. For the AEM gauge, the setup is pretty much the same. Free air, hanging O2 sensor. The gauge is wired up with black and brown together, which is the gauge ground and the output sensor ground. Red for power, and white is the output to the scope. So I'm going to switch it to O2 mode so we can see the percentage O2. 20.69, which is regular ambient O2. We're going to put cover up the sensor. Watch that fall to 0. We can go back on the gauge to air-fuel ratio. Cover it again. Watch it drop down into an air-fuel ratio of reasonable proportions. And you can see the gauge where the output is going up and down based on me covering over the O2 sensor. So that's it. That's how you're going to test your O2 sensor with either an AEM gauge or an Innovate LC-2 to verify that your O2 sensor and your gauge / controller are working properly.